Alex Karaban's decision looms large. Should he stay at UConn or should he make the leap to the NBA? You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, I want to take a moment to say how thankful we are for all of you. We appreciate all of your support. We're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering the UConn men's and women's basketball programs, the hoops capital of the world. We're thrilled to bring you the coverage you deserve. And to show our gratitude, we're giving back. We're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to UConn games. Special shout out to all of my everydayers out there. Well, the looming decision of Alex Karaban, even though there's games to be played, Alex is either going to stay at UConn or he's going to go. And even though there's still a lot of games to be played, hopefully, 2 in the regular season, at least 1, if not 3 in the Big East tournament, and then eventually the NCAA tournament, decisions get made early, not necessarily because players want to think about them now, but so they don't have to carry that burden later. And one decision that has been hanging over this season is whether Alex Karaban stays or goes to the pros. From everything I've heard, Alex planned to leave after this year, no matter what, right? That was the plan. When Dan Hurley got the flirtation from the Lakers, we covered that. And when he decided to make the return to UConn, albeit with an extension, Alex Karaban shortly after that went through the draft process and returned. And it felt like that was kind of like a package deal, that they talked about things. They realized that they're going to try to make one more run at this thing to try to do something historic and get a three-peat. UConn was supposed to kind of have another great season, 25, 26 wins. He'd continue to develop, championship or not. His draft stock would continue to rise. But things, admittedly, haven't exactly gone according to plan. And because of that, some have started to question the decision. And I think that's natural. I don't think it's unfair to question whether or not you believe or don't believe Alex Karaban is a professional basketball player. But I would question the basketball acumen of anybody that's questioning whether he is worthy of being drafted as not being so high on the ability to kind of break down the little things that Alex does. But that's a podcast for another day. In fact, I would actually challenge anyone that thinks they knows anything about basketball as to why Alex Karaban isn't a pro, and you can try come on the show and try to change my mind. I don't think it's going to happen. And later on the pod, I'll give my opinion why I believe he should go. But really, part of this is I'm going to talk about it right now. And it's not just because the latest NBA mock draft that we'll talk about in the last segment of the program has him as a first rounder. It's because he's already given UConn so much. And the kind of silly vitriol that's been thrown his way was almost inevitable. If you think about it in this respect. Fans are very passionate. Sometimes that passion gives way to their worst impulses, like some idiots that take it too far on social media and start to post really disgusting things, or even something as silly and trivial as booing a back-to-back national champion because the standard wasn't met. And I'm using air quotes if you're listening to it in audio. Whose standard, by the way? Is it Dan Hurley who's talked about that? Sure. I've never worn a UConn jersey. Some of you graduated from UConn. Fantastic. You've been on campus. You've lived there. You've lived that experience. You have a totally different experience than I do as a fan. But unless you've actually played the game, I think we all should say we or the team or everything that comes with it. I don't have an issue with that. It's as far as I'm not the word police. But if you've never really worn that UConn jersey, I mean, they've talked about how heavy that is, especially coming off of a back-to-back national championship. I've never carried that burden. I played college tennis. And even in an individual sport where everything falls on you, the pressure could be almost overwhelming. So I tend to have a little more empathy for players when a season doesn't unfold exactly how they hoped. And I understand because this is very important to understand this dynamic of this. People think I'm soft on the players or that I don't hold them to the standard that Dan Hurley puts up. Well, maybe it's because of this. I understand accountability better than most. When you play tennis professionally at a young age, and I'm talking 20s, not like 15 or 16 like some professional tennis players, you travel to tournaments, you've spent more money than your entire net worth than just to compete in it. If you don't win at least one match, you don't break even. You're sleeping on a friend's couch to save money on rent. To me, that's real pressure. And I get it. Fans want ROI. They want that return on investment. Players are getting paid, right? Right? You know, they're semi-professional. But what Alex has already given to UConn can't be measured in dollars and cents, regardless of what happens in March or hopefully April. I fully expect him to enter the NBA draft and become a full-time professional basketball player. Whether that's a first-round pick, as we'll see later in the program, the most recent draft, 7 or 8 hours ago, had him as a number 30th pick in the draft. A second rounder, I've seen him as high as 49th. Undrafted signee to a two-way contract or G League player. His time is now. And of course, if by some miracle he decides to return, I and every UConn fan would welcome him with open arms. Because make no mistake about it, Alex Karaban is the greatest winner in UConn basketball history. As Dan Hurley has said, he is absolutely instrumental in how this team won over the last 2 years and how he is the biggest reason why they kept everything together for those 2 years. And if you don't believe in that, I guess you don't believe Dan Hurley is telling the truth. I tend to believe in what he says because he's pretty honest about his assessments. So, Alex, go prove the doubters wrong. But before you do, keep the haters at bay with some classic performances down the stretch. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about the senior day, and that surprise edition is no shock. Alex Karaban after the break. Supply House is when you get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade employees, whether you're a plumbing, an HVAC, or an electrical work person. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros out there looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order, and thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. So now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code S-H-5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, back on Locked On UConn. Just kind of gave my thoughts on the Alex Karaban situation. There really isn't anything other than the fact that he's a surprise addition to Senior Day. UConn is set to honor 3 players during their Senior Day festivities before their matchup with Seton Hall on Saturday. Hassan Diarra, Samson Johnson, and Alex Karaban. Karaban still has a year of eligibility left. He's being recognized because he's graduating in May, following UConn's tradition of honoring all graduating players. Karaban, a key piece in UConn's back-to-back national champion runs, has started 104 of 105 games over the past 2 seasons. Despite a dip in his three-point shooting percentage this year to 34%, he remains a high-impact leverage player, averaging 14.3 points, 5 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks a game. His NBA draft stock is still solid, with many projecting him as a late first-round pick, as we will talk about in the next segment. Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson have also played critical roles this season. Diarra is second in the Big East in assists with 6.2 per game while running the Huskies offense, and Johnson has anchored UConn's interior, starting 27 of 28 games and averaging 7.1 points and 1.5 blocks per game. But the big question will this be Karaban's final game at Gamble Pavilion? Could he follow in Diarra's footsteps and return despite being honored on Senior Day? His NBA decision looms large, and you already heard my opinion as to whether the Huskies are gearing up for that deep March Madness run. I do think that Alex should go. And if you think about from the perspective of don't forget about it, but think about all the things I just said. That he's given a ton to this, I was about to say this organization. Because let's face it, that's what things are nowadays. The UConn basketball organization, the semi-professional UConn basketball organization, the school, etc. He's given so much to the program. He has sacrificed probably going to a school where he could be a featured player, if you will, to be and I've said this with endearment, the best role player probably in the history of college basketball. He just is. Can you think of a guy who is more quintessentially a UConn player than Alex Karaban in terms of the little things? Names that come to mind are glue guys from the past. Lyman DePriest. I would say Scott Burrell was a little too electric. Guys like this name is gonna blow people's mind. Albert Mooring, Rashamel Jones, Edmund Saunders, guys who've been on championship teams. I know Josh Boone was a first round pick and more of kind of a elite player, but he was only because he was 6'10", 6'11", but he wasn't the star. Same with a guy like Hilton Armstrong. But I look at Alex as different because he did so many different things for this program in respect to he wasn't just a spot up shooter. He would literally guard the tallest man in the history of the world in Zach Edey to spell guys like Donovan Clingan because they were in foul trouble. Or he's averaging almost 2 blocks a game. When I think of Alex, I don't think of fearsome defender, but what I do think about is the ability to create angles and control his body so that he's not flailing about and getting unnecessary fouls. He's a smart player. He's cerebral. These are all code words to say that he's just not a very good athlete. Alex is a good athlete. He's a very good elite athlete in terms of normal people. But in terms of basketball players, he is average. He's an average athlete. And I say that as what I would consider an average athlete for normal standards, right? In terms of normal people, I think I'm a great athlete because I can do a lot of things that people can't, but I'm also 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 foot in a good day. But I don't have anything that's like special. I don't have elite quickness. I don't have elite speed, straight line speed. I don't have height. I do things well. I have good hand-eye coordination, things of that nature. Alex has taken every ounce of his athletic ability and enhanced it by using his mind to couple the fact that he is actually, when you put out, like they're playing Marquette tomorrow, if you were to put every player through an athletic test, let's just, and I'm not doing this to make fun of Alex. I think it actually gives Alex more kudos that the fact that he's probably the least athletic player on the court when the game starts, and he is easily the second or third best player. Let's look at the starting lineups pre Liam McNeeley with the Marquette game. You had Samson Johnson, Jalen Stewart, Alex Karaban, Solo Ball, Hassan Diarra. And then Marquette started Ben Gold, David Joplin, Chase Ross, Cam Jones, Stevie Mitchell. Just by a show of hands, and I know I'm joking around because I don't have like a live audience. Who do you think? Do you think Alex is the most athletic player on the court of those 10? Raise your hand. Everybody should not raise their hand. He might be the 7th. Like if you really are splitting hairs, he's not a better athlete than these 4 players on Marquette: Stevie Johnson, Cam Jones, Chase Ross, David Joplin. He's probably a better athlete than Ben Gold, who's taller than him and slower. And then on our team, Hassan, Solo, Samson, Jalen, even Liam. If you put maybe Aiden is the one guy that you could say he's not as good an athlete, or maybe he's a better athlete because he's taller. But every other player, I would say, is a better athlete than Alex. And he's also, if I'm looking at that lineup without Liam, he's probably the second or third best player on our team. And he's easily the third or fourth best player on the court every night. So that just tells you what he's had to do to get himself to that level, both mentally and physically. You don't have to be the best athlete in the world. I don't think anyone would consider Cam Spencer to be the best athlete in the world, and he's pretty damn good. Even Tristan Newton. Tristan Newton is not a high flyer, 6'5". He's not overly quick. He just does things the right way and is a technician. That's the best word I can describe for guys who are not good athletes but end up being great players. Is they're a technician. They follow what they need to do on a daily basis because there's no shortcuts when you are, athletically challenged according to, standards of excellence in the NBA or college basketball as a whole. All right, Alex, we love you. We want you to stay. If you stay, fantastic, but I think it's time to go. And I think that's something that should be supported one way or the other. When we return, we're going to talk about the latest NBA mock draft, a quick little segment because it has AK in the first round. And that tells me something right off the bat, that his stock may have dropped in some people's eyes, but I don't think it's dropped too much and by NBA standards. They know what he is, and they know what they're going to get from him. So we'll talk about that coming up after the break. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn. Let's talk about this mock draft. Alex Karaban and Liam McNeeley are climbing NBA draft boards. UConn's NBA pipeline remains strong, with Alex Karaban and Liam McNeeley both projected as first-round picks in the latest 2025 NBA mock draft. And this isn't just speculation. It's USA Today's Jeff Zilgett, a veteran NBA reporter since 1995. He's covered 17 NBA finals, 8 Olympics, and countless interviews with NBA players like LeBron, Steph Curry, and guys going back to the Jordan era. His projections carry a serious weight, and it's not just like Bleacher Report's, content creator library of clickbait where it's like Alex is 47th now or blah, blah, blah. No, Karaban has NBA-ready skills as a floor spacing forward with defensive versatility. And despite some shooting struggles this season, his basketball IQ and ability to stretch the floor make him a strong late first-round option. However, could a strong NCAA tournament showing boost him into the lottery discussion? Maybe. I doubt it. I think maybe in the low 20s, but I don't think that's going to propel him into the lottery. Meanwhile, Liam McNeeley is 100% in the lottery. The talented freshman forward has bounced back from early season injury and is averaging close to 16 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists per game while shooting 35.5% from three. Scouts love his quick release, elite shot-making ability, his size, his high-level feel for the game, making him the lottery pick he is in 2025. So, where are they in this mock draft? When I looked it up, we're going to check it out right now. There's no real surprises up front. The 2025 NBA mock draft here, you can find it on USA Today. Cooper Flagg is number 1 pick. Dylan Harper, number 2 at Rutgers. Ace Bailey is number 3 pick at Rutgers, which is wild to me that you had the number 2 and 3 picks in the draft, and Rutgers is playing atrocious this year. But both of them are fantastic and definitely NBA players. But then you look at VJ Edgecombe, who we didn't really see it when we played Baylor because he's been hurt. I think he's got a really talented game, 6'6", 180 pounds, only 19 years old, super rangy. Then you have the guard from Illinois, Kasparis Jukoshinis. I think it's Jukoshinis. I don't know if you say that. I'm saying that right. But, an international player, 6'6" freshman, fantastic player. He can be turnover prone, but that's okay. And then you have Duke forward, freshman guard who's 6'7", Con Knipple at 6. That could change. I think Con may go later because there's international players. They're taking some into consideration. But I would imagine that the idea of taking as I just mentioned, not a great athlete. Con is not a great athlete. He is definitely savvy. He's strong. He's like a Cam Spencer on steroids. If you gave Cam 2 extra inches and about 30 extra pounds as a freshman. So does someone take a chance on him as a top 10 pick? I think that's definitely possible. Trey Johnson, I think, is a much better prospect at 6'6", 200 pounds, and they have him at 7. Kayman Malawach from Duke is the one kind of wild card that I think could actually move up boards even more. He's 7. He's a full 7'2", 260 pounds. He's only 18 years old. And in the game last night against Wake Forest, at one point he had 2 points and 15 rebounds. The kid is an absolute wall. He only averages 1.1 blocks a game because they don't even challenge him. Like that's so funny. It's like it reminds me of Klingon in that respect, where his block percentage actually could have been higher, but people don't challenge him. When they do, his numbers skyrocket. And then that's where we get into this area where I think you could probably put Liam at the 9, 10, or between 9 and 12. They have him at 12 here. I think he's fluid. I think he's got a knack for drawing fouls, and getting to the free throw line. I think if he didn't get that injury against DePaul, UConn would probably have a much better record and a higher seed. But also because I think people are seeing how special this kid is, and they saw that against the Creighton team, like where he can literally take a team over and get you 30, or he can be a good second or third option for you in the NBA. Another one that I feel like is going to be much higher is Derek Queen. He's an absolute monster. And then they have Alex at 30. I'm going to keep going down. The only thing that I will say about this, or Alex at 28, pardon me. They have John Broome at 30, which is wild to me. That John Broome, who is, well, also part of that is because John is like 25 years old or whatever he is. I think he could potentially be a higher pick, and he'll probably go higher just because he's going to likely have a really good March Madness where he leads them at least to a Final Four. I love Danny Wolf in this draft too. Carter Bryant from Arizona is a nice pick. LeBaron Phelan from Alabama is an absolute stud. Can shoot the three at a high clip. Cam Jones in the first round. Jace Richardson from Michigan State, I think, is an interesting one. I don't even know if he's going to go pro. And then another one, Georgetown, Thomas Sorber is a first round pick. I thought so too. So when they lost him, he was likely gone for the season and won't be back next year. All right, so that's just like some mock draft stuff. I think it's important to realize that Alex Karaban is not, if he is consistently being put in the first round in mock drafts and or early second round, he's not sticking around. And if he does, I'd be shocked and actually very happy because I would love to have him back. Who doesn't want Alex Karaban back? But as I said, it's time to go and spread those wings. I'm a peacock, baby. Got to let me fly, even though peacocks don't fly. If you got that reference, I appreciate you. All right, this has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected. Those toughness meters better be high tomorrow because I'll be in the building. As always, go Huskies.
Go Huskies.